Welcome back. Alright, so we gotta go to the communications office. Because Ace is a jerk and likes to do stuff, but first, I want to continue. Shut up, Ace. Am I in the communications office right now? I'll see keyhole, though. Electronic lock, perhaps. Take a look at the left side of the door. Yeah, there's some cables over here. Over there. That must mean I'm in the communications office. I want to go in here. Oh, that's the wheelhouse. In fact, don't you think it'd be wise to investigate the captain's quarters? I think we ought to check both of those, don't you? Shut up. God, you're such a jerk. What's the deal with this? Got to check the desk. Well, I didn't forget, I was dragged out of it. What's the deal with this? Is it some kind of code? There are 4 rows of numbers and letters. They all start with a 0 and end with 8, F, N, or V respectively. Maybe this has something to do with the number bases. New material has been added to the file screen. Feel screen. Alright. I think now we can return. Freaking jerk. Okay. So, said something about these. Hey, what's this? It's blank. There's nothing written on it. Cool. Nice little scrap of paper. Hey Ace, look. It's a model of a steam train. How on earth did you arrive at that conclusion? Because it looks kind of like a train. Maybe. Hey Ace, look! It's a monkey with glasses! Aww. Hey Ace, look! There's a big rat trap over here! I told you, that's a telegraph key. It is a device that transmits messages through Morse code. Does the rat trap want the music box? Yeah, I know. So you think it's broken? No, it works. Just not sure if it actually transmits anything outside the ship. Okay. Apparently, it doesn't want my music box. That's fine. My music box doesn't want it either. Oh, hi. These are fancy screwdrivers. You only get them at the finest Walmarts. Okay. Some ink. Maybe a quill somewhere. Old telegraph machine. I'll be honest, I have no idea how it works. Okay. Nothing suspicious here. Can we do this? Alright, the screwdriver ought to make short work of this music box. But I wanted the music box. Wait a minute. I've seen this trick. I guess I'll put the ink on the cylinder. Yeah, it's dirty. I've seen this trick before, and now I just gotta roll the cylinder across a piece of paper. And if I'm right, the ink should. If only Snake were here. I don't know. It's Morse code, right? So that means... Alright, I've got the Morse code I'm supposed to enter. If I do this right, something will happen. I hope. Alright, let's give this a shot. Yeah! Hahaha, I'm a master of Morse code. Yes! Excellent work, Junpei. Good job. You seem to have figured it out. You've unlocked the drawer. Oh, cool. The drawer's unlocked. Oh. A red file lay in the drawer. Junpei reached down and picked it up. The cover read, Alice, or All Ice. All Ice. Alice. Did that mean? Junpei couldn't hold back. He had to know what was in this file. That file. This would have been better to use. Each page was covered with strange characters. It's Egyptian, duh. They looked like tiny drawings of birds, snakes, insects, horned animals, wings, and even kneeling humans. There were many pages in the file, and each full of these strange symbols. What is this? He didn't realize he'd spoken out loud until Ace looked over at him. They're hieroglyphics, a form of writing used in ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt? That's right. Can you read them? Of course. I can't. What would make you think I could? What? Junpei flipped through a few more pages. It wasn't just one or two pages that were covered in the strange symbols. Every single page was covered in them. Trying to read them was pointless. Junpei wasn't going to waste any more time with him. He made to close the file. And something fell out. He bent down and picked it up. Hey, a card key. There was a symbol on it that reminded Junpei of the symbols for the Saturn and Mercury cards. This one, however, had a dot in the center of the male symbol. Uranus. That's the Uranus symbol. Junpei looked over to see Ace examining the card. In addition to the Uranus symbol, there were 3 words engraved on the card as well. On the lower right, it said Bottom Deck Library. This must be the key to the library on the bottom deck. So, it would seem. The bottom deck, the library. Junpei remembered something he heard from Seven when they'd been in the chemical closet. Alice sleeps in a small chamber past the forest of knowledge, beneath the navel of the gigantic. Did beneath the navel mean the bottom deck? Did forest of knowledge mean the library? Well, it could. If it did, then was Alice in a room somewhere beyond the library? What's wrong? Junpei blinked, and only then did he notice Ace looking at him. Curiosity and concern ran across his face in equal parts. There was no reason for Junpei to hide his thoughts. He began to explain his theory to Ace. Then he stopped. It wouldn't make any sense if Ace didn't know who Alice was supposed to be, so he told Ace everything June had told him. About the Egyptian priestess, about Ice 9, and finally about the woman who wouldn't melt, who had been recovered from the Titanic disaster. He told him about how she had been called All Ice, which had eventually turned to Alice, and how she had been purchased by an English millionaire who called himself Lord Gordain, and how Gordain had hid Alice somewhere on the ship. And you think that he hid her in a small room beyond the library on the bottom deck? Yep. Well, I mean, I guess so. I see. Ace stared off into the distance, his hands slowly and absent-mindedly stroking his beard. After a few moments, his hand stopped. He turned slowly to look at Junpei, and his brows drew together. Junpei, have you ever heard of the term CAS? CAS. It stands for Cells Alive System. It is an advanced technology for freezing and preserving organic matter. Put simply, it is a technique that allows one to freeze things without the formation of ice crystals. Normally, if you freeze something fresh, water within its cells expands as it crystallizes, damaging the cell membrane. CAS, however, works differently. The object to be frozen is supercooled using magnetic fields, and then frozen instantly and uniformly, giving ice crystals no time to form. It was originally developed for the preservation of food, as an alternative to the normal freezing process. Now, however, There are rumors that it can be used for other things, like freezing humans. Well, there are obvious medical uses, but perhaps also space travel. Oh yeah. Space travel. Surely you've heard of suspended animation, cryogenic freezing. It's a fairly common idea in science fiction books and films. People are sometimes frozen for especially lengthy journeys through space. That was when Junpei understood what Ace was suggesting. Whoa. Wait a minute there. Ace looked at him and raised an eyebrow. Are you saying that Alice was frozen using that cast thing? Well, I'm sure the possibility is quite low, but it is a possibility. If this special ice, you call Ice 9, does indeed exist, and if casts were used to freeze her into that sort of ice instantaneously, do you think she could be alive? Well, I can't say for sure, of course. I'm only talking about possibilities. The melting point for Ice 9 is 96 degrees, right? If she were put somewhere where she could reach that temperature, that's nuts. Are you really saying she could have defrosted and started walking about? You're quite right. It does sound unbelievable. But if she had, then we would have an explanation for the man we found dead on the floor. Are you saying that she's Zero? I know that's not what he said. That's what I said. That's what I wanted to ask. Yes. He was dead when we found him. Clearly he was murdered. I've seen that kind of bald head before, but I know it's not the same guy. But if he was murdered, then by who? He couldn't have been one of us. That would be impossible. In order to enter the captain's quarters, one must first open door 1. Unless you're Zero. That door that requires the Earth key prevented us from accessing door 1. Who was it that opened that door? Santa and Lotus. Right. Clearly the two of them could not have opened door 1, or any other door for that matter. Who else, then, could have done so? Junpei thought for a second. No. Nobody. After Santa and Lotus had used the Earth key, they turned back and met up with Junpei and June, who had just returned from EDAC. The four of them then proceeded to return to the large hospital room to reunite with A7 and Clover. When Junpei and his team had gone into the shower room, A7 and Clover had been left in the large hospital room, but they would have been unable to open door 1. Perhaps when Junpei and June had taken the elevator to door 2 then? No, that would have been impossible. They had been gone only 5 minutes. No human being could have run to the captain's quarters, killed a man in there, and run back in 5 minutes. It would be impossible for any of us to be the murderer. That being the case, who could have killed him? Wouldn't it make sense if his killer was someone who had been on the ship for some time? A person like that would know the ship well. They would know the locations of all the hidden passages and secret doors. The number of doors would mean nothing to someone like that. It would be a simple thing for them to enter the captain's quarters. Then you're saying, the killer was Alice? It was Junpei's turn to raise an eyebrow. He drew his thumb across his lips thoughtfully. Well, this is only one possible theory. All eyes. Alice. Was Alice indeed somewhere on the ship with them? Junpei had only one clue. The keycard in his hand. It would, he hoped, grant them access to the Forest of Knowledge. But beyond that, what waited for him beyond the Forest of Knowledge? Whatever might be there, however, would have to wait. At the moment, there was nothing Junpei could do. He gripped the keycard tighter and shoved it deep into his pocket. New material. Congratulations, what's this? A unique key. That is kind of unique, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. Well, we do have a new... This. Let's see if shaking you gets us anywhere. No dice. Control panel for the electronic lock. Looks like it's got a keyhole on the bottom, right. Maybe the key I got earlier. Sweet. Just had to put that key in, and now it's on. Junpei, look. There's a minus sign on the screen. There are 8 of them. That probably means we gotta put in 8 digits. Do you think you can figure it out? No. Okay, if you just use 5 for here. Aww. Doesn't do like VLR. Darn it. Okay. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9. F. Eight digits, huh? Once I've put in the 8-digit number, I just press E to enter it. And if I mess up, I guess I just press C. Alright, let's give it a shot. Really? Okay. Oh, it was nothing. Gotta thank the guide, because I had no idea what was going on there. Woo! Got it. They stepped out of the captain's quarters and into another hallway. The hallway stretched out in front of the Junpei, for a bit, before turning left, like a great backward L. Junpei rounded the corner and took off down the straightaway. He ran, and he ran, and ran. At the end of the hallway was a door. Whoa. He made straight for it. He was nearly halfway to it when he noticed a piece of paper in the middle of the floor. What was a piece of paper doing in the middle of the hallway? Junpei skidded to a halt. He dropped down to his hands and knees and quickly tore the paper off the floor. Now that he had a chance to examine it more closely, it was clear that it was a map. More specifically, a map of the ship's interior for the A-deck. What's wrong? A slightly slower, by virtue of his advanced age, had finally caught up to Junpei. Junpei said nothing, simply showed Ace what he had found. He looked at it long enough to determine what it was, and nodded. I see. With that, he began running again, past Junpei. Junpei shoved the map into his pocket and got up to follow Ace. But something stopped him. Hey, where's Clover? He turned around. Clover was nowhere to be seen. What is she up to? Junpei muttered angrily under his breath, and took off back the way he'd come. As he stopped around the corner, he saw her. She was standing in front of the door to the captain's quarters, her hand on the doorknob. As Junpei watched, she closed it, gently and quietly. What are you doing? Nothing? What do you mean, nothing? Clover had unconsciously put her hands over the pockets of her jacket as if to hide something. What is that? What? You've got something in your pocket. What is it? Isn't it the... I bet you that it's the bracelet. Oh, this? Uh, um, this is a note? A note? Yeah, I found it in the pocket of the guy with the cabin's clothes. It said something about the darkness of the sinister hand or something. What? Let me see it. But Junpei wasn't going to get to see it. From the other end of the hall, he heard Ace's voice. Hey, Junpei! Clover! What are you two doing? Hurry up! Clover shrugged. I'll show it to you later, alright? Come on, we gotta hurry. Before Junpei could protest, she was gone. Around the corner and off down the long stem of the L. A note? A note. Junpei was curious, but there was something else that bothered him. Her pocket had been bulging, far more than it would just from a note. From just a note. Junpei did his best to convince himself that it would make sense later, and ran off after Clover.